Hey, welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to discuss functions, and really we're going to discuss how to look at a graph and tell whether it's a function or not. Okay, so there are a couple terminologies that we should already know. We should know that there are these graphs that are known as functions. Okay, and from prior lessons, what we talked about was that was for every input, there is only one output. Okay. So a lot of times we talked about this in context of height and how tall you currently are. So if I'm looking at my height right now, okay, Mr. Honig's height currently, I'm 5'9". Okay, I am always at this moment in time 5'9". I can't simultaneously be 5'9" and 6'2". I would love to be, but I'm not. Okay, so this would delineate that we would not have a function in that case. Okay, so in reviewing what we talked about, if I have a table here where I have my x values, my inputs, if I have x is 1 and y is 3 when x is 1, that means every time where I replace, if I substitute in a 1 here for x, I should always get y to be 3. Okay, if it happens to be a case where I have 1 is also equal to -2, that tells me it's not a function. Okay. So this right here, we're talking about functions, okay? The other terminology that we should review is a relation, okay? And a relation is anything that you can graph, okay? So pretty much if it has an x and a y value, you can graph it, okay? Meaning I can look at all of these graphs that we're going to talk about today, and if they're on an xy axis, they're all relations, okay? So what we're trying to figure out today is just looking at them graphically, which ones are also functions, okay? So when you're naming these, it would either be both a function and relation, because every function is a relation, or the other possible choice you could have is if it's not a function, it would be a relation only, okay? So these are the only two options you can have here, okay? So what we're going to talk about today is using this vertical line test. And what the vertical line test does is it shows us, I'm going to draw my vertical line here, it shows us whether we have a function or not. Okay? So we're looking for any of these lines. When I drag this vertical line across this graph, my question is how many times does it intersect it at any given point in time? Okay? So obviously it is going to intersect, but the question is how many times will it intersect? Well, on this line that I'm tracing it across, it only intersects it at one point every time I move it from left to right. What that tells me is that this would be both a function and a relation, okay? Because that means that for every one input x value, that's my drag from left to right, I have one output, which is my y value from top to bottom, okay? So this tells me I have both a function and relation. I can go to this next one over here. As I drag it from left to right, how many times will that vertical line intersect my graph? Well, I only have, at any point in time, it's again one intersection at any given point in time. That again would be both a function and relation. Remember, a function is a relation. It's graphable, okay? Finally, I look at what's called my parabola over here, okay, and I drag it, and this one gets close, but if you look carefully, it still only intersects one point in time at any given point when I drag it from left to right. So again, this would also be both a function and relation, okay? I'm just abbreviating for time's sake here, okay? Now, in some of my other graphs down below, okay, here is a hyperbola, and notice as we drag it here, here's where we get interesting solutions. Look at this point right here, okay? At these 2 points, x is 1. However, you're telling me that y, when x is 1, if I'm writing this out in table form, that x can be 1 and y would be 2, x could be 1 and y is -2. In order for it to be a function, that's not allowed, okay? So this is proof I have an intersection twice, more than once, that I actually have a relation only in this case, okay? I'll do that once more. I see the circle over here. Again, as I drag it up, I intersect more than once, several times, which means I have a relation only. Okay? You can still graph it. It's graphed, but it's just not a function in that case. So I hope that helps. Use this moving forward in looking at graphs with that vertical line test to see, are they functions and relations, or are they just relations?